Shakira is in the spotlight yet again. This time, Spanish prosecutors are accusing the Colombian singer of tax evasion and are threatening her with a prison sentence of up to 8 years and 2 months. I'm shooting this video to fill you in on the psychology as well as the tax side of things. This is going to be an important video, and I really wanted to break down the essence here so you can understand what this case is really about and why things happened the way they happen. Let's get started talking about the psychology. If you haven't really followed the case, Shakira and Pique broke up. They were never married. They broke up. They had 2 kids together. They have 2 kids together, and they were boyfriend and girlfriend for over 12 years, but recently split up because Pique cheated on Shakira, which is definitely not a nice thing to do. And there's a couple of reasons behind that incident that happened. We don't know if it happened just once or multiple times, but I wanted to tell you why it happened the way it happened. So Shakira and Pique, they met during the 2010 World Cup final, and Spain won that game. So Spain ended up winning the World Cup, which was definitely an amazing feat. And Shakira performed as a musician during the event, and that's how they both met. Immediately they had a very interesting and commonality, which was their birthday. They are both born on February 2nd, and Pique is at this point in time 35 years old and Shakira is 45 years old. So Pique is 35 years old and Shakira 45 years old. So what we can see here is that there's a 10-year age gap. And from what we know is that a 10-year age gap very rarely works out if the woman is older than the man. What's interesting here is that both of them were aware of this age gap. It didn't come as a surprise by any means, and Shakira knew about that already a long time ago because both of them, they remained boyfriend and girlfriend. She did not want to marry him for a number of reasons. First of all, net worth differences. Pique is a professional soccer player and as of 2022 has a net worth of roughly $55 million. Shakira, as of 2022, has a net worth of roughly $350 million. So we can see that there is a big pay gap, a big net worth gap. And no doubt that played a role because as a woman, being 10 years older than your boyfriend, than the father of your children, you kind of need to protect yourself because first of all, you are much older than him. And as a woman, being much older than your guy kind of puts a lot of pressure on you because you need to deliver. And you know that, okay, maybe things work out when you are 35 and when he's, 25 because, you can still perform in the bedroom and things are still working out fine. But as soon as a woman loses its attraction, which typically happens in the late 30s, beginning 40s, that's going to cause a problem if the guy is that much younger and still wants to pursue his sexual desires. And certainly that is still the case with Pique, considering that he's only 35 years old, considering that he is surrounded by young soccer players that all have young, sexy girlfriends, wives, and that of course puts a lot of pressure on him because during training, in the locker room, whenever they hang out for beers, whenever they work out at the gym, these buddies, his buddy soccer players, for sure they tell him, what, I'm with this girl right now, she's amazing, she's really hot, I love making love to them, making love to her. And if Pique hears those stories, he's like, well, what a loser am I? I'm with a 45-year-old woman that I rarely get to see because she's a professional singer and she doesn't spend all the time in Spain. And she's 10 years older than me, and here are all these young dudes that I'm, playing soccer with, and they have the most beautiful girlfriends, they have great experiences in the bedroom, and I'm lacking these things, but I don't need to be lacking these things because I am somebody as well. I can have these things on a daily basis if I wanted to, but I'm tied to this woman, and I can't fulfill my sexual desires. I can't fulfill my public desires. Whatever it was for him, it for sure was, there was a lack in the bedroom, without a doubt, and things probably got boring. I mean, that's not an excuse for him to do what he did, but at the end of the day, a man is a man, and that's what he did. Whatever your opinion on cheating is, it is just important to take a look at the cold hard truth here and to see why things happened the way they happened. And this is now it for the psychology. Let's talk about the the tax side of things. Now, Shakira is being accused of tax evasion by the Spanish authority, actually by Spanish prosecutors, and she could face up to 8 years and 2 months in prison, which is a hefty sentence for a first-time offender. Yet what's important is that in the year 2019, Shakira denied any wrongdoing in a similar case, but ended up paying more back taxes to the Spanish government plus some interest on top. So she actually had already problems in the past. And now what I think happened is that the Spanish authority and prosecutors said, look, Pique, Shakira, they split up. Who knows what's going to happen, right? Potentially, she may never come back to Spain. We don't know how it will happen with custody, because if a guy cheats on a woman and it's been public, that is one of the worst case scenarios. If you're a public person, that is very insulting. And I think she will be back in Spain, but she will probably spend a lot less time in Spain. So the Spanish authority probably thought, you know what, some things like this already happened before. Chances are, you know, she was hiding money again. So we rather grab her right now while she is still here, or while this is hot, so she doesn't, you know, lose too much in terms of reputation, because she already lost a lot because of Pique's cheating behavior, that now she's might be in a situation where she's like, you know what, I just want to get this sorted because I already have so many other problems to deal with. And women don't like that. Men also don't like that, right? So the Spanish authority is putting pressure on Shakira, which may be unjustified, but since it already happened in the past, they think there is a chance that she was hiding something again. And now we're talking about many years ago, you know, between 2012 and 2014. But does she really owe taxes? If you are a resident of Spain and you spend more than 183 days in the country, then you are officially a tax resident of Spain. There's no escaping. If you got your resident card and you spend, you know, so and so much time in the country, then you're officially a tax resident of Spain. Spain is not the only country that enforces the 183-day rule. Certain countries enforce it as well. Certain countries don't tax offshore income, meaning income that is generated, you know, in a different country from a different company overseas, from a different income source overseas. Some countries don't do that, but Spanish residents are legally obligated to pay income taxes on their combined global income. So if you have income, let's say in the United States, and you live in Spain, then you would need to pay taxes in Spain too, because Spain has a treaty with the United States, a double tax treaty, right? Which is important. Well, let's say, you know, you also have income from Hong Kong or Singapore, same thing. You know, there's double tax treaties in place for certain countries, and you have to comply with that. But then the argument is, well, what if she didn't spend 183 days in the country? What was her main place of business, her main place of life? You know, even if she only spent, let's say, 4 or 5 months in Spain, and she spent maybe 3 months in Colombia, she spent a month in the Bahamas, she spent 6 weeks in the United States, she spent 8 weeks in France. It doesn't matter where she was at, but as long as the majority of her time was spent in Spain and her life evolved around Spain because her boyfriend was there, you know, her children, maybe then she would still be obligated to pay taxes in Spain, even though she actually spent less than 183 days in the country. Tax laws are very complicated, and there's a fine line between being right and being wrong. So it's really important that whatever the problem is, whoever you are, that you consult with a professional tax attorney who knows the laws of the country. So in Shakira's place, you would think that, you know, considering her relationship with Pique, her children, and that she probably spent the majority of her time in Spain, even if it was less than 183 days, that she's actually obligated to pay income taxes in Spain, not just on income derived from within Spain, but on income derived from all countries worldwide. Supposedly, Shakira is also a resident of the Bahamas, and considering that she probably didn't spend 5 months per year in the Bahamas, but it's more of a tax haven setup for her to escape, you know, the crazy tax world that we live in. It's still really not certain whether that, you know, helps her out in this particular situation, because what we know about Spain, and if you are a resident of Spain and your life is based in Spain, is that you're pretty much, you know, obligated to pay taxes there, even if you have another residence in a tax haven. That's not that important to the Spanish authority, and that's something that she would need to consider. What I really think is the case here is, if you have so much money, if you have hundreds of millions of dollars, you have more money than you will probably ever know what to do with, why not pay some money back to the government? You know, what's the point of having all this money? I mean, at the end of the day, we cannot take anything with us into our graves, and we will now see how this case ends, but I think it's an exciting thing to watch, and there's a lot to be learned from her relationship, from her tax choices, from the fact that she actually had back taxes before but solved the case for a professional tax attorney, and we will see how this case ends. What do you think about Shakira's unique situation? Do you think she committed tax fraud? And what do you think about Shakira's and Pique's relationship? An interesting question. Leave a comment below and let us know. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm uploading new videos on digital nomad locations, travel updates, and investment advice several times a week right now. I highly recommend that you grab a free copy of my latest ebook, The Nomad Elite Income Booster, your go-to guide for creating passive income streams using the internet. And if you got some more time left, check out these videos. Thank you for watching.